About converting decimals to percents. So there's rules for that. So with decimal, how do you turn it to percent? You move it two places to the right and add a percent sign. So go 1, 2, would be what? 350%. Okay. If we have 2.8, it would be what? As a percent, it would be 1, 2, 280%. Okay. So that's what you do essentially with percents. Okay. Now, if we have percent, first of all, let's talk about percents because I don't want to get too big. Percent means always over 100. They have something called is over of equals percent over 100. Okay. What I like teaching students is this percent circle, which is part divided by percent times whole. Essentially, if you know this, you can solve anything. Okay. But you can never leave a decimal or a percent, especially where your calculations, you want to turn it to a what? Decimal. So how do you turn a percent to a decimal? Move it two places left, 0.78. If you want to turn it to a percent, move it two places to the right. So either way, on one of my other recordings, you have a percent circle, which refers to part, okay, which is the is part, and whole represents the word of. So as long as you have two pieces of the pie, you can solve. So if I have part and whole, I can do part divided by whole. If I have part and percent, it's part divided by percent. But that percent has to be in a decimal format. So some of the other questions you'll see. So if I have a number of 7.3, well, the rule is, how do I turn a percent to a decimal? Move it two places to the right, so it's 730%. Okay? So that clarifies turning that. So the other thing we're going to talk about is going to be, how do you turn a fraction, turning a fraction into a what? Percent. Into a percent. So there are a couple ways of doing it. You can turn it into a decimal, move it two places to the right. So, or in some cases you can put over equal to 100. So I'll put over here 100. 5 times what makes 120. 4 times 20 is 80. So 80, anything over 100 is going to be what? Percentage. Because percent is over 100, so we're at 80%. That's one way of doing it. It doesn't work in all cases, but in some cases you could do that same thing that we said earlier, which was is over of equals percent over 100. So in this last case we had 4/5, which is the is and the of. This equals what over 100? And what we're looking for is x, which is that missing variable. So 5 times 20 is 100. 4 times 20 is 80 over 100, or 80%. Okay, that's one example. Is that clear? Okay. So the next thing we're going to look at, that doesn't always work. Now, 5 over 8, if we tried that same formula, equals percent over 100, we don't have any perfect number that multiplies into 100. Okay, so it's not going to work so perfectly. So really what you could do is divide it out and move it two places to the right. So if I do 5 over 8, I'd say, okay, 8 goes into 5 how many times? Well, it's understood that every whole number has a decimal at the end of it plus 2 zeros. So 8 times what makes 48? 8 times 6 is 48. You got the decimal here. Subtract. 5 minus 4, 1. 10 minus 8 is 2. 28 times 2 is 16. And if you keep on going, that's 16. You get 4. Okay, it's 40, and that kind of cut off. So let's try it again. Make it a little bit here. So if I had here 5 over 8, we go 8 goes into 5. 5.0. 8 times 6 is 48. Subtract. You got 10 minus 8 is 2. 0. 4. 8 times 2 is 16. Don't forget to add the decimal here. 20 minus 16 is 4. Bring down another 0. Just keep adding. You only get to a couple place values. 8 times 5 is 40. So you have, it's 6.625. So how do you turn a decimal to a percent? Move it two places to the right, and you're left with 62.5%. So that's the other way of turning a decimal to a percent, or a fraction, I'm sorry, to a percent. So I hope that was helpful. Now, last part I want to talk about is, again, that percent circle, which is part divided by percent times whole, okay? And that refers to the word, whole refers to the word of, and part refers to the word is. I'm changing the colors here to kind of emphasize those parts. Okay, so let's give you a question. If I say 4% of what number is 5? So we have two numbers here. The two numbers here clearly are the 4 with a percent sign and the 5, correct? So we have to plug in two pieces. Well, we do have a percent, so that goes on the bottom. Now the question is, does the 5 go on the top or the bottom? Well, if there's an is and a number after it, it refers to the part. So it would essentially be what? 5 is the part, because there's no of in this word, right? Over what a percent has to be turned into a decimal, move it what? There's always understood to be a decimal at the end. 1, 2 divided by 0.04. Okay? So it's part divided by percent times whole. In this case, we had the part, which is the 5, and we had the percent. So it's 5 divided by 4. You got to understand? Now, to solve for the percent, what should we do? Well, 5 divided by 0.04. 0.4 goes on the outside. At the 5, you can't have decimals on the outside, so you move it 1, 2. It's always understood to be a decimal at the end of every whole number. And we move it 2 places over. As we move these 2 places, if it was 1, it would be 1, 2, 3 places. So put 1, 2, and 4 times 1 is 4. Left for 1, 0. 4 times 2 is 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. And 4 times 5 is 20. So left for 125. 125% is the answer. So again, there's other tutorials on that. So there's a couple worksheets that I give you today. So I hope that's helpful. So we went over how to convert decimals into percents, which is again, if we have a decimal 455.36, again, from my understanding, we said we move, if we have 45.3, we move the decimal 2 places to the right and put a percent sign 2 places to the right to be 45536%. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Okay, that's it.